Hey there, Maximizers. This is Kevin here from MaximizingEcommerce.com. I help people build e-commerce businesses that they can be proud of. And in this video, I'm going to change it up a little bit. And rather than just having a topic that I'm talking about or interviewing someone else who's a subject matter on a particular topic, I'm going to actually take some questions that viewers have given to me that I found in the comment section. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out and ask the question in the comment down below, or message me, whatever the case is. I love getting questions, knowing what people are asking. Some videos end up becoming videos because someone asked the question. And also, if this goes well, which please give me some feedback down below. But if you like this kind of question and answer feedback session, I'd be more than happy to do more of these in the future. So again, let me know with the thumbs up or whatever the case is, or leaving a comment down below if you find this to be helpful. So getting into it, let me share my screen here real quick. So we are talking about questions and answers here from viewers. So one thing I do want to just take a quick moment for is just thank you for watching and supporting this channel. So been doing this for a little bit over a year and have seen a good amount of growth. Still relatively a small channel, but we are making strides. And a lot of that I really say is because of you, the viewers, those of you who are watching and supporting this channel. And supporting it could just be as simple as, giving it thumbs up, or, leaving a comment or sharing it with a friend. So I really appreciate that. It definitely is very helpful. So getting into some feedback here real quick. So share some feedback, some good and not so good feedback, because I believe in taking in the good and the not so good. But here I have from Fahad Siddiqui, let us know. Thank you for taking the time to answer all of our questions. I don't always, not able to answer all questions fully, but I do my best to try to answer as many questions. So thank you, Fahad, for saying that. This one, not as good of feedback, but it's what a confusing video. Not sure if your message was conveyed. So as much as I love getting the good feedback, which helps me feel motivated to keep moving forward, at the same time too, I'm always looking to improve. So is there something I can improve upon? Let me know. I mean, please be respectful of the way you did it. And I think this person was um, they weren't mean or anything, so I took the name out because I'm not trying to call anyone out. But more than anything, I appreciated the feedback because it did actually make me take a step back and think about how I was organizing the flow of some of the videos. So in this particular video that this person was referring to, I see what they were actually saying. So I'm not arguing with this feedback. In fact, like I said, I love the good feedback. Please keep it coming. But if there's something I can work on, if you're not comfortable putting it in the comments, I mean, feel free to email me. If you just go to the about page on the on our YouTube channel, you can find the email address. And then also here, this one, I wish I could give you more than one thumb up. Thank you for that. I haven't established my e-commerce business, but I'm still interested in just waiting for the right time for me to start. Thanks a lot for sharing your valuable experience and give me more knowledge and confidence to start. Wish you all the best in your business. So I really appreciate that sentiment. I do want to just challenge one thing in there. A lot of us, and I've done this a lot myself, we just keep thinking to ourselves, just wait for the right time. The right time is 5-10 years ago. The second best time is now. Waiting for the future isn't always going to be helpful. So I would just recommend, if you haven't started yet, do what I did to start and just go to local stores like Walgreens and stuff like that, which is literally where I got the first product for the first sale I made. It was one of those, it wasn't Igloo, but it was one of those like cooler packs that you put in your freezer that keeps cans cold, like in a little, cooler. So that little freezer pack, I think about like 3 or 4 of them, sold through them fairly quickly. I was blessed to the fact that I sold the first one the first day. So sometimes just getting a little bit of momentum, even if it's not a huge thing, it doesn't have to be you're doing a container load of product, your first shipment for a private label product that's been patented, and you got custom molds and all this other stuff. Sometimes it's better just to get up and running and start it. So even if you don't have a lot of funds to start with, just start. And you know what, that goes for wherever you are in the process. So if you're just say, not just, but if you're like, let's say 5-10 years into this, there's always something you could be doing to moving the ball forward. And if you keep moving the ball forward, so to speak, eventually you get to the point of getting a touchdown. I use that analogy because I think you probably heard me talk about this before. I'm a high school football ref. In fact, actually, even though I'm recording this in May 2018, I actually have a game tonight and two tomorrow, spring games. Um, but anyway, now to get into some actual questions here. So this one here, great information. Do I need to register my company as an LLC either here or in Europe before I can register for VAT in Germany? And then another one here, can I sell on Amazon Europe from a company set up in the USA, or should I open an LLC in Europe for that? So um, first off, I'm no lawyer, so I don't want to pretend to be a lawyer. I just can tell you my own personal experience, and you can use my personal experience in your own research. And if you do talk to a lawyer, more power to you. So, just don't take this as legal advice. But from what I've seen of others as well, is you can basically just take and you probably have to have an LLC. I think you can actually do it as a sole proprietorship, but it's probably a better idea to at least have an LLC in the US before going to Europe. And I just take my Florida-based LLC. I took the Articles of Incorporation, which is not a complicated document. I just go to the state's website and pull it up. Print out those documents, scan it, and I send it to HMRC, which is Her Majesty's Registry, Her Majesty's Custom, something or other. But basically, HMRC is like the IRS in in uh, in the UK, and Germany probably has a similar one. I'm not VAT registered in Germany. I am VAT registered um, in the UK, so I can speak to that. And I know you can at least take your US based company. And I would say it's probably the best thing to do is to at least start off with, again, do your own research. But if you at least start off with your US based company, you could always make a company like a limited company, which is, I believe, their version of a LLC, at least in the UK. In Europe, because if you can sell as a foreign entity, meaning your LLC in the US selling in the UK, then just make it easier. And I'm a fan of always starting with what's easy and make it harder later. There's no sense trying to get as hard as possible to at least get started. So if you're thinking about getting started in Europe, pick a country. I recommend the UK because at least it's in English. Germany could be a good option too if you speak German, but again, you're learning a new language and all this other stuff. I'll probably say I probably got in some of the foreign language marketplaces a little early. I'm probably about breaking even in some of them. Germany and Italy, I'm making a profit, but France and Spain, I'm about breaking even, which for a long-term play is okay. Um, Talk to me in a year or two. Hopefully that's a different story. But anyway, back to the original question of, do you have to register your LLC or do you have to register a separate company in Europe? As far as I know, to be simplistically, no, you don't. And all right, so now let's get into another question here. All right, so next question I have here. I know this is over a year old, the video that is, but I'm just now coming to find it. I have a dumb question. There's no such thing as dumb questions, so please feel free to ask whatever questions you have. I have a Amazon buyer's account, and I've even have an Amazon affiliate account. I had an Amazon seller account for college books. I wanted to sell back, I'm sure, when in college. Which of these is the FBA one? Is there a different one? So that's a very good question. When you're selling on, or if you're doing anything on Amazon, oftentimes you have these different accounts. So the associate's account is a different account. The seller's account is an account, and your buyer's account is an account. Now, the buyer's account and the seller's account are linked together. So if anything ever happened, you got suspended for your buyer's account, you would lose your seller account. I don't know, other than if you're trying to rip Amazon off as a customer, you would lose your buyer's account, but don't do that anyway. That's just not a good practice. But to answer the question, if you were selling textbooks in college, you want to make sure that you still use that account. Don't create another seller account. That's a big Amazon no-no. You got to have a legitimate purpose to have a second account, and oftentimes you want to get that approved by Amazon. from what I've heard in the seller community, and there are people like this that were doing exactly what was described in this question of they were selling textbooks in college. Now, if they're selling textbooks in college and then, 5 years later, whatever, they're deciding to get a seller account, you got to use that same seller account. So the best thing to do is, if you remember selling anything on Amazon in the past, just go to Amazon and ask, how do I get into my old account, if you don't remember the username and password and all that. Because basically they kind of consider it a lifetime account. So once you have an account, that is your account. Especially if you're doing this like as a sole proprietor. Don't try to have multiple accounts if you don't have a legitimate business purpose and it hasn't been approved. So if you've had an account in the past, get that at least resolved, and make sure that you have it in writing, that if they tell you to open a different account, that at least you have that in writing from Amazon. I wouldn't just create another account. There's a whole host of headaches and potential risk of suspension even for creating a new account. But also what I think the question was alluding to as well is, for FBA, do you need a different account? No, actually, when you have your seller's account, you're able to sell either as FBA or FBM. FBA being fulfilled by Amazon, and FBM being able to be fulfilled by merchants. So either way, it works out the same, or you use the same account. So all right, so now we will get into the next question, which is, thank you for the video. Would you recommend on some important details need to write on the agreement with the supplier before making payments? That's a very good question as well from Errol Cohen. So what I would suggest is, especially when you're working with a new supplier, make sure you have everything in writing and they're putting back in writing everything that you're telling them. So like on the invoice, if you say you want X number of units and the color, if there's a code for the color, rather than just saying green, maybe they have a code for however it is in their world they use the color. Oftentimes it's not going to be like hexadecimal code. It might be a CMYK code or some, I don't want to get too into the colors, but either way, make sure you guys are on the same page of what color it is, or what mold they're using, or what the packaging looks like. The more granular it can be, the better for everybody, because at the same time too, they want to do a good job for you and they want to make you happy, and they don't want to be confused. So in your instructions, try to be as explicit but as concise as possible. You don't want to write these long descriptive paragraphs, just bullet points of, this is what I'm looking for, X feature, X size, X quality level, because different products have different types of quality levels. So whatever the raw materials are that are going into your product, try to learn as much as you can about that. If there's certain quality distinctions, that are, industry standards, so to speak, you want to put those in there. But again, the more detailed you can be, the better you're going to have your expectations delivered on the back end. And some of it is, you're just not going to know everything 100%. So always learn and adapt as you go. But the more you can put in writing, and the more specific and, again, concise you can be, you don't want to have all these paragraphs kind of, describing in this ethereal way of how you're doing things. You just want to be very concise. This is what I'm looking for. Boom, 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 boom. And you're more likely to going to get boom, 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 boom on the end. And whenever they're putting on the invoice, I would challenge them to make sure that they're putting on there, if you don't see something described the way you put it on there, or if they left something off the invoice, even if there's a verbal arrangement or at least in the email, try to at least get it on the invoice, because at least that's like, think of it as like the sheet music in an orchestra. Not just your rep is working off that invoice, the workers in the factory and what they're making is going to be made based off of that piece of paper. So you want to make sure it's as accurate as possible, and you've been as explicit about what you're looking for as possible. And sometimes it's better to over communicate sometimes too. Not too much, but again, being, at least as long as you're being concise in what you're asking for and you're clear about what you're asking for, and everybody has it in writing. So what you could also do too is, if you've had a lot of emails back and forth with your supplier, you could say, okay, just to recap, this is what I'm looking for. So you can go back through, and then you basically create like almost like your summary of what you were talking about. So that way you get better results in the back end, because at the end of the day, you want to have a good product and they want to do a good job for you, because they want you to order again. I mean, they're not looking to just be, one-timers. I mean, in China, they believe very strongly in guanji, which is their version of basically a professional relationship. And so, they want to do a good job for you, but you have to make sure that you've set them up for success. So, great question. Make sure to always give as much information to the suppliers as you possibly can. All right. So, hey, Kevin, I just recently listened to your chat with Scott, the amazing seller, his podcast. I'm essentially in the same growth journey as you are and thinking about getting some VAs. I was wondering if you could expand on how you're using your VAs. So, that is also a fantastic question. So, virtual assistants, I've been using a company called FreeUp. If you look up freeup.com, FreeUp is with 3 E's, not just the normal spelling of two. But they do a good job of trying to match you with part-time VAs. Now, you're going to pay a little bit more of a premium as per hour than if you went out and got your own. But I'm actually just now hired my own first full-time virtual assistant, and that virtual assistant I got from Online Jobs PA. I could probably do a whole other video on the hiring process, but the bottom line is, per hour I'm paying much less. But the problem is, starting out, you don't always have enough work for them to do to justify spending, whatever it is you're spending a month on them. So your per hour rate might be higher if you go to like FreeUp, or I've also used Upwork for tasks. But as far as like what they're doing, I've had them help me create listings. Now, one of the nice things about FreeUp is, these are at least vetted people. And so you basically just describe what it is you need, and they give you, 1, 2, 3, or however many top candidates you want. So they do a lot of the filtering out for you. And on their website, they say it's the top 1% of the people that apply that they let in. So at least they've been vetted somehow. There's always pros and cons of having part-timers, because you are sharing them with someone else, so I don't always know what rates they're getting with other people. But at least if you have someone, then you can start taking little tasks and giving them off. So like, for example, I was having them help me create listings. So one of the person was actually an Amazon. This person worked in the Philippines, I believe it was, at the Amazon seller support call center. So she knew a lot of stuff. In fact, she was actually able to share some stuff with me. I had another virtual assistant. I just had, some copying and pasting tasks, some things I needed to get, to start putting my taxes together. So I wanted to create basically some custom reports. But it was something that was probably a good use of my time, because it was a lot of copy from here, copy to there, create this big spreadsheet that was basically aggregating data, and I couldn't find a software tool that did exactly what I wanted it to do. Now, again, that was my own personal preference. But what I'm going to be hiring my full timer to do is a lot of customer service stuff, responding to inquiries, helping me figure out there's so many just basic one-off tasks that I'm sure you can probably relate to this if you've been doing this for a while, especially if you're like me and you have a full-time job. Eventually you get to a ceiling, as much as, say, oh, don't spend time watching TV and, do all this other stuff. You're still going to run into, there's only so much time. You only have 168 hours a week. You can maybe sleep faster and, take 1 hour a day away and devote that to your business. But eventually you're going to get to a point you've filled that hour even if you're laser focused on what you're focusing on, you got to start finding ways to do it. So sometimes, the more, if you start giving to a VA, I think it's also a growth for, at least for me as a seller, and maybe for whoever is thinking about doing this, because if you're offloading your tasks, you're having to create better processes, and you never want to just say to your virtual assistant, hey, go figure this out. There's a tool I use to communicate with the VAs called Loom, Loom, like Fruit of the Loom. You can go to either useloom.com, I believe it is, or if you have Chrome, as your browser, you can just go to the extension store and look up Loom and Loom. And basically, it's a screen share software. So what you could do is record just a quick video. Hey, can you go to this place and show them on your screen where you're going? Click here, paste here, take it over to this spreadsheet. For spreadsheets, I recommend using Google Sheets as opposed to Excel, just because Excel, when they keep having like they save a copy, you save a copy, then it's like who has the right copy, especially even if you're using Dropbox. But if you're using email to communicate back and forth, that gets really confusing as to which one is the most current version if they're attaching it. But if they use Dropbox, it's a little bit better. But I still think Google Sheets, even though it doesn't have all the bells and whistles of Excel, it's still for most put data on a spreadsheet, works pretty well. But sorry, going back to Loom, you could take whatever information you have for Loom or you want to communicate, you record it on your screen with Loom, and it will give you a link. In fact, when you're done, it copies to your clipboard. So if you just went into an email and Control V or right click paste, you paste that into your email. Now you've got a link. They click on the link. It'll even show you that um, they viewed it, and that way you can show what it is you want them to do. And so that's, I think, a really good tool to use, because if you try to describe an email, like at least for me, I'm more descriptive if I'm able to say, okay, go here, do this, do that. If I'm trying to describe it, I might describe part of what needs to be done and not all of it. Whereas I think we're just visual creatures. And if we can see, being your virtual assistant, if they can see what it is you want them to do, you're going to get better results. So my big takeaway is, offload little tasks that even if you have to challenge yourself of, but I can do it better. Do you need to do it better? In fact, I was in a mastermind group where someone asked someone else this question of, if you gave them this task and they screwed it up, is it going to ruin your business? So think of it from that standpoint. So yeah, it might be a hassle trying to fix it, whatever, but if you have someone that's working with you ongoing, um, doesn't mean that you hire someone once, you have to always hire them. But if you're finding that, this is someone that's reliable, they're getting work done on time, whatever, you can start giving them more tasks to do. And at least using a company like FreeUp, it's good practice. So if you're thinking about getting a virtual assistant, start off with FreeUp, or you can do Upwork too. It doesn't have to be FreeUp. Just some company where you can hire someone, and even if it's an hourly rate, even if you're paying more per hour than you would if you hired them yourself as a full-timer, it's still good practice for you. And you can start seeing within your business, because everyone does things a little bit differently, so you can start seeing within your business what makes sense to start giving to someone else, and start challenging yourself. It could be actually kind of like a little bit of a game. Okay, what is it that I can start offloading to someone else? So hopefully that made sense. All right, so what else do we have here? All right, so hi, Kevin. I'm not sure if you spell your name with a K or a C. You have it correct with a K. Good job. But thanks for your videos. I really love your genuineness. My issue is, how do I know if I have an idea on a product and want it made for me? What if they steal my idea and start producing it for themselves? How can I protect myself and my ideas? Well, at the end of the day, someone's going to copy something you did. I mean, at the end of the day, nothing is that original. So think of it this way. When you're in business, there's always risk, but think through, what are your risks really, and not what they could be, but what legitimately are your risks. So you could invent a new product, patent it, but what happens? You're going to spend a lot of time and money patenting something, and then you may not know if the market even wants it. And the market being customers, are they going to actually buy this product? So I wouldn't worry too much about that. Now, if you know blatantly your supplier is already selling that product on Amazon or somewhere else online, I would probably most likely find another supplier, especially if they're going to be competing for almost the identical same product. Now, if there's something else that they can modify whatever, then potentially. But if you're competing for basically the same product, they're going to always win in the margin game. So can you differentiate your product? Maybe something that you're adding with it that comes from another supplier to make it at least harder for them to copy. But if you're going back to the example of, you invent a product and you patent it, but again, how do you know if someone wants to? So think of it this way. Amazon is almost like a stream or a river. And there's all these, let's just say the flow of the river is basically people looking to buy stuff. That's the demand, flow of people going this way. So you just basically are going with the river, so to speak. So if you're going upstream, you're making it hard. Whereas if you go downstream, meaning this is what people are buying, so you're just jumping in there with the demand that already exists. So the demand is that flow of the river. Now, if you're trying to go up the stream, it's a lot harder because you don't know, is there any way for you to go the other way? You're just going up the stream and it's harder, or you may not even get anywhere because it may be going too fast against you. Because I've seen people do this where they basically have this genius idea for a product, and maybe it's great, but every new product took time and money to get people to be even aware it existed. Because people don't really go on Amazon, and I say people, I mean customers. Think about yourself as a customer. You're not really going there to browse. It's not like, I remember when I was a kid, we had Brookstone and some other type, kind of invented products, like unique things. You're going there to look for that. It was like you're at the mall and you're just looking for something that was like unique. People don't really shop like that when they're on Amazon. You think about you like, oh, I need such and such. So you go on your phone or you go on your computer and you look up such and such, whatever that is. Garlic press, French press coffee maker, toilet paper, whatever you're gonna buy. Cinderella DVD. I don't know why I just came up with that. But whatever it is you're gonna buy, you just go and look for it. You're not really shopping around quite as much, and maybe you might buy like an impulse purchase or something that maybe it's like, oh, frequently bought together, or suggestions they make, but you still have to have some background on that product for Amazon, at least. Now, maybe, if you want to invent something and go on Shark Tank or whatever, and, get backing from venture funding, but that's a whole other business model. So the business model of Amazon is you just kind of have to be willing to just accept there is risk. There's going to be someone who just might rip off your idea. And does it suck? Yeah. But at the end of the day, if someone is just copying you, they're just being a second rate you, not a first rate them. So as much as we're all kind of adapting and making better mousetraps, I guess you could say, rather than making completely new mousetraps, you're always going to do better if you just realize that, there's always some element of risk. But I would say that risk, especially ask your supplier point blank, do you sell on Amazon? If they don't, chances are they're not necessarily looking to. And even if they do sell on Amazon, they can't be you. You're going to bring something better to the table than probably they do, because they're good at making stuff. And your goal is to be good at marketing stuff. It's a different skill set. Now, there's overlap between the two, but just be good at you and don't worry about suppliers or if someone's going to copy you, because at the end of the day, we all can see on Amazon what's selling and what's not. So if something is selling, there's always risk someone else is going to sell it. Okay. Just be better. I know I'm oversimplifying that, but I think we oftentimes make it harder on ourselves. So hopefully that makes sense. All right. So did you find this video to be helpful? If you did, please do me a favor, leave a thumbs up and then subscribe to the channel and ask a question down below. And what I will do is try to have more videos like this. So the more questions I get, the more often I can do these videos and the more I can put into them. So hopefully you found this helpful. And again, if you leave a comment either on with a question, either on this video or a different video, it could end up being a video that I make one day, or it could even be in a video like this, where it's a question and answer, or I'll do my best to at least, answer your question in the comments. So hopefully you found this to be helpful. And again, thank you so much for watching this video, and have yourself a wonderful day.